Wow, what a great day. How's it going for everyone? I mean, you can really feel the energy here in the building in terms of all of the knowledge and expertise we've been going through. This is my first summit, and I know some of you may say, no way. Yes, Liz Gardner probably tried many times to get me here, and I don't know how I got out and why I told her no, but it was a big mistake on my part because this has been outstanding. So wonderful group, great information, great energy, just happy to be here. So my name's Jerome Davis, and I'm the Executive Vice President here of the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also the President of the Denver Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation. And just thrilled to have you here this afternoon. We have, when you think about Be Civic and you go back to 2019 when we really sort of established having them in the family, we had a sort of a little bit of a hiatus, and we still got through what we were doing, but it was primarily virtual. And just to see everybody in the seats, bumping into each other outside. We were hanging out at DaVita last night, and I've had history with DaVita in that location, and I won't go in that story, but a few people know about that story there. So it's just wonderful to be here. A few words that I got to make sure I get through here before I bring up our keynote, before I bring up our sponsor to bring up our keynote, in terms of talking about what we've accomplished so much. So the impact of the global pandemic, into witnessing how far we've gone on diversity, equity, and inclusion in the support of companies at all stages in their social responsibilities journey. You've proved how social responsibility and now environmental, social governance, ESG, is more important than ever. The community is something special. It's inspired leaders committed to growing our impact together. So thank you for your support and embracing the Leadership Foundation as a key partner to the work that you do. A little bit of background about the Leadership Foundation. We've been building strong, diverse civic leaders who understand the value of working effectively across sectors to create lasting impact for almost, who wants to guess how many years? Down or up? Boom, who said that? That was my board member that said, was that? Yeah, that was my board member that said that. So I'm going to make sure that she gets credit and merit. Thank you very much for having that answer. 50 years. We are the second longest running leadership program in the nation. Atlanta has us beat by about 6 months. Yes, yes, Ramona. Ramona's in house, so she knows that. So yes, if you tell them to just take a year off, 7 months off, so we can just pass them up. And as the Metro Denver area grows and changes, we need strong civic leaders to help make our region a better place for all. Our goal is to have Be Civic inspire your companies to lead in social responsible ways and to create programs for your teams inside your companies to lead. And as you can see, it's all about leadership. And this is why we look to partner with businesses that align with our values, like presenting sponsor VF Corporation. VF Corporation is a company whose brand and culture aligns with Colorado's core values. When they made the decision to relocate to Denver in 2019, one of the reasons was due to our inclusive and engaging community, which they have seamlessly integrated into. Today, they continue to be a leader in socially responsible business. It is certainly my pleasure to make sure that we welcome to the stage Gloria Schott. And she's the Senior Director of Global Impact for VF Corporation and the Executive Director of the VF Foundation. VF Corporation is a global leader in outdoor apparel and footwear and iconic brands, including North Face, Vans, JanSport, Supreme, Timberland, Smart Wool, and Dickies. And I'm sure somebody in here is wearing some of that right now, correct? Yes. Gloria is a social impact strategist with 15 years of experience at Fortune 500 companies, leading efforts in CSR, ESG, government relations, community relations, and communications. She oversees the foundation's strategic vision to help create a more equitable and sustainable world. She also works across the brands, enterprise, and with community partners to innovate, problem solve, and measure social and environmental impact to drive transformative, systemic change in the communities where VF operates around the world. Active in the community, Gloria serves in many leadership roles, including the advisory board of the UN Foundation's Resilience Fund for Women in Global Value Change. That's a long one. Yes. VF's Council to Advance Racial Equity, and most importantly, our own board, the Denver Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation. We are honored to have VF Corporation as a partner in this work, and it's my pleasure to introduce our afternoon keynote. Welcome to the stage, good friend, Gloria Schott.
Well, it's wonderful to be here with all of you, and it's just energizing to see incredible leadership from across our community here. And I mean, Jerome already took all of my talking points about VF. Thank you. You should work for us. But it's been such an honor to be part of the Leadership Foundation board, and it's been incredibly meaningful to be under the visionary leadership of Jerome and the incredible team that day in and day out are equipping our leaders of today and tomorrow to ensure that they continue to grow in their community impact right here in our backyard. So VF is thrilled to be here today and to support the B-Civic Summit. And for those of you who aren't familiar with VF, Jerome already shared our story, but 3 years ago, we made Denver our new home, bringing many of our brands and the employees behind those brands under one roof. We strive every day to be more than just an apparel company. Collectively, we work as a leading global citizen, setting the high bar for corporate social responsibility. From our offices to our partner factories around the world, we use our scale, influence, and size to take actions to advance meaningful and measurable progress for the benefit of both people and for planet. Our purpose, action, achievements, and ambitious goals can be found in our latest sustainability report that we're thrilled to be launching next week, and we encourage you to check out our website to learn more. Since we last published our report, as Jerome mentioned, so much has changed in our world. A global pandemic, an awakening over pervasive racial and socioeconomic injustices that exist in society, a growing recognition of the consequences of climate change. These landmark issues magnify how connected we are to each other and to the world we share. And they've instilled a greater sense of urgency to make things better now and to protect our collective future. As we embrace our responsibility to actively promote the betterment of people and planet, VF is committed to addressing the many ways inequities affect all of us by leveraging our platform, commitments, and actions to advance meaningful change both inside and outside our company walls. We're setting ambitious greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets approved by the Science Based Targets Initiative, creating a sustainable materials vision to strengthen our commitment to use more materials that originate from regenerative, responsibly sourced, renewable, and recyclable sources. We also issued the apparel's first $500 million green bond with proceeds allocated to projects focused on delivering positive environmental impacts. We're reaching hundreds of thousands of people through our worker and community development program and philanthropic grant making to support women across our supply chain and the communities that they call home. We're taking action and leveraging our resources and power of our brands, enterprise, and foundation to make real progress, but we always remain aware that the work is never done. We'll continue to lead by example and set ever a higher bar for ourselves and others as we leverage our business to drive positive change to help create a more equitable and sustainable world. And VF and the VF Foundation know the concept of growing to give well. This keynote, Grow to Give, is all about grit, heart, and growth. 3 things that are very core to our work at VF. And we especially know how the more you grow, the more opportunity you have to give. So whether just starting out your business strategy or looking to advance your own work, we will all find something to be inspired by during this keynote as we understand how Snooze, an AM eatery, has grown into a pancake breakfast icon and a socially responsible model for all companies to emulate. And we all know pancakes, of course, are not just to be enjoyed for breakfast, right, Bree? So it's my pleasure to introduce our two keynote speakers, sharing the then and now of the Snooze CSR ESG journey, followed by a fireside chat. So before we begin, I'll just share a little background about our speakers. Adam Schlegel is the owner of Chook Charcoal Chicken, in addition to CEO of Cumulus Etc., a consulting company focused on food, beverage, agriculture, and sustainability. Adam's experience spreads across multiple sectors and disciplines in entrepreneurship, management, socially conscious business practices. And in 2006, Adam and his brother John founded Snooze AM Eatery, a consortium of breakfast and lunch restaurants throughout the Western US. Adam currently sits on the Snooze board of directors, focusing on community and sustainability programs across the growing restaurant group. And in 2018, Adam hatched Chook, partnering with James Beard Award-winning chef Alex Seidel to create a casual, healthy, affordable, and delicious rotisserie chicken shop, which is truly one of my favorite places to frequent. Seriously, my husband and I go there probably once a week. At a minimum. Chook continues a mission that a business can be a force for good. Our other keynote speaker that we're fortunate to hear from today is Brianna Boren-Lagios, Chief People and Cultural Officer for Snooze, an AM eatery. Brianna is affectionately referred to as Mother Hen by her snoozers and represents the heart and soul of Snooze. And I just have to say too, it's been incredible to follow Bree's journey of impact over the years and to be able to collaborate with her in so many ways that has just continued to strengthen and grow our local community as she continues her impact work beyond our borders. So Bree founded her way to Snooze, where she started as an intern and host at the original Ballpark Denver location. And almost 15 years later, she has held a myriad of roles within the company and is as passionate about the restaurant's mission today as she was on day one. Bree believes that Snooze is about so much more than serving up amazing breakfasts. It's also about mindfully sourcing and preparing sustainable foods, giving back to local communities, creating a sense of home for snoozers and guests, and allowing each snoozer to show up authentically as their true self every day. So please join me in welcoming my dear colleague and friend, Bree, to the stage.
Hoping you can see me over this podium. Test. Just kidding. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gloria, obviously, and Jerome for such a warm welcome. First of all, Adam and I recognize what time of day it is, and we should have brought mimosas, but we didn't. So we will do our best to make this just as purposeful and meaningful and get you out of here so you can enjoy a beer or two. But first, I'd like to thank the Denver Leadership Foundation and the entire B Civic staff who has done an amazing job bringing a group of like-minded folks together in this room to connect and to collaborate and to share great ideas that allow all of us to continue to grow our impact. Secondly, I'd like to just say thank you to those of you who got us in the room today to share what I think is a really special story. Denver, or Snooze, is a Denver brand. It's a Denver story, and it was actually started by Denver locals, which is a rare story these days. So really just honored to be able to share our story with you today. There have been many incredible sessions that have happened today, many of which I've been able to participate in. And there are a lot of people in the room, Gloria and many others, that we look up to in our CSR and ESG journey. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like we're going to blow your mind with all these amazing new ideas or something innovative or something you've never heard before. But instead, I want to just take an hour to empathize with you. To recognize the incredible work that you do every single day and to validate your efforts in trying to change the world. All of you spent a day committing to your own professional journey and committing to the organization that you work for journey to impact the world around you. And I think that is really at the core of this message, which is to grow and to give. So we're going to take you on a little bit of a journey that just shares where Stu started and where we are today, and really what our mission is to serve a little bit more than just pancakes. Our intention is to be lighthearted and fun, and really just to talk about breakfast, which is a lot lighter than some things that we've heard today. So with that, at Snooze, we grow to give. And we truly believe that a stack of pancakes can actually change the world. That's if I don't eat them before that happens, or you don't eat them before that happens. But from our humble beginnings in downtown Denver to becoming a national lifestyle brand, we have continued to stay course on a really powerful foundation of community, of sustainability, of purpose, and ultimately of a people-first culture. That has not been easy. It's not been easy from day one, and it certainly is not easy today. Our values and our beliefs are challenged almost daily, but we know that by being able to stay course in what we do, that we will actually reach our goals and our potential to actually create a sense of growth and the power of growth to ultimately give back. So before I kind of tell you where we're at today, I wanted to take a moment to invite our co-founder, Adam, up to the stage to tell you a little bit more about kind of how this crazy breakfast dream of ours really started and the passion and grit that it took to get us from 2006 to today. Adam?
Do have to adjust it. All right. Thank you all for taking this time to do this. I have been deemed as the ghost of snooze past to kind of come up here and talk about what was yesteryear. And so it's kind of funny, back in 2006, if somebody asked us what our ESG, protocol was, our CSR platform, we would literally have no idea what they were talking about. Probably thought it was like some fine print from the mini loans that we just took out on our building and our business. But we were two brothers, and we were young, and we were super idealistic, and built upon this dream that really my brother had since birth, to try to be in this restaurant business, in this hospitality business. So I really say that our platform to here it's a journey. It's a journey that we continue, but ours is definitely laden with unknowns. We didn't have a roadmap. We certainly didn't have the answers, but we were idealistic and we wanted to make things happen. I say that about, my brother from birth. He is like Mr. Hospitality, and Snooze to him was this way that he could bring this hospitality to a whole new sector that really just didn't exist in the breakfast market. And mine was more like one of those young 20-somethings who wanted to change the world. And didn't know how. And now I find myself a 40-year-old something with the same ambitions. We did have one overwhelming motto that I hope still persists today. I'm assuming it does. But we had this motto that it only takes a moment to make a difference. And that was one of the huge guiding points. It was this constant reference that we had. I'm going to forget to skip these things, so I'm going to go through these. And it was with that motto that we always could think about whether it's who we partnered with, or could we provide a pancake to someone on their birthday? Could we make the right decision when somebody had a banana peel, and where was the right bin to throw it in? All of those little tiny steps, it was that constant reference and frame point that we always came back to. We certainly had a lot of role models starting off in our business that we wanted to do, and they actually weren't in our industry. I would say New Belgium Brewery was, a company that we really aspired and looked up to. I'm going to say Patagonia and VF Corp were organizations that we hold in great ideals. I remember distinctly being at business school and being told that I probably didn't have a role in business. I should probably go into the Peace Corp and the nonprofit. But through all of this and through all that time, we actually really developed this understanding that business can be a force for good. It actually has a responsibility. to be a force for good. And I look around at like Pete and Lisa and so many of the people that have actually been some of my most influential teachers over the time. So it really, we started off with that framework of wanting to do it. We just didn't necessarily know how to do it. One other thing I want to point out too is this, it's sometimes called a jack. I don't like to call it a jack. To me, it's a compass. We've had that as our emblem since day one. We purposely put 8 points on that jack or compass. Each one of those points symbolizes something important and special to us. Again, it's one of those like guiding points. When you have a crisis, when you have a decision, when you have an opportunity, does it reflect adaptability, our guests, our snoozers, our community, our sustainability? Those were always like guiding points in where we tried to go. So our journey began in the historic ballpark neighborhood. I would say to this day, still the worst piece of real estate in all snooze portfolio. But we love this neighborhood, and we fell in love with this neighborhood. A lot of it was just having been extensive travelers and going around and seeing, I think, communities like Chicago and New York and San Francisco, Australia, Melbourne, Austin, Sydney, great cities we felt were really developed by the neighborhoods. They weren't about the central CBD. It was about this connection that many of those had. And back in 2006, Denver was starting to get this feel. And we really felt like the ballpark community was one of those areas that we could dive into that really could be a part of that. And it really started this foundation for us that, we're not a business in a neighborhood, we are a neighbor. We are integral to that. And the highs and lows and woes that happen in your community are just as impactful and as important as yours. So we have always had that. We always continue to have that within any new community that we go into, is that we are part of this neighborhood. We are part of this community. We have always wanted to be an anti-chain. We did not want to be that sterile music, monotone food, color palette, everything. How can we be special and how can we be an element of that community? To us, that was what actually was real and was authentic to who we wanted to be. So if you're talking about the ballpark neighborhood, you can't not talk about homelessness. Couldn't talk about it in 06, couldn't talk about it today, probably can't talk about it in about 5 years without actually acknowledging it. And for us, a lot of it was not ignoring this. We had to embrace this. We had to learn about it. Again, this was a journey for us. And our journey started with volunteering at the rescue mission, reading books, trying to get involved with great civic leaders and have those discussions to do it. We would eventually go in and we're throwing, parties and fundraisers to try to help solve this. We are hiring and actively hiring people within the homeless community and teaching them and trying to give them that sense of hope that we actually really believe comes from meaningful work. Our job really was to embrace that and to try to help shape that as much as we could. Lord knows it still is a continual battle to do it. But, you'll still see my brother there. He still is volunteering on a very regular basis. You still see a number of our snoozers that are there, continually committed to working on that. And we try to do that at each one of our neighborhoods. We set out from the get-go to actually donate 1% of all of our sales back into our community. The mantra was how do we do it within 3 miles of the front door? And within each one of those communities, we have to put some protocols on this because, as that earlier discussion was, people think it's foundation open. We tried to set up 3 parameters. It was sustainability initiatives, it was education initiatives, and it was wild card. Wild card is what's really important in that community. When we're in the ballpark neighborhood, obviously homelessness is very important. When we opened up in Hillcrest, San Diego, it was the LGBTQ population. We really tried to identify and connect within each one of those communities, and we still do it. And a huge shout out to Shelly over there who helps drive so much of that mission initiative. So I wanted to, in this journey, I do want to, if any of you know me, want to talk about the food system. Because obviously it's very important to who we are and what we do. And I'll, total honesty, when we opened up this restaurant, we really didn't know a lot. We actually served Hormel bacon when we first opened up. Love me or hate me. But we didn't know, and it actually tasted good. And that was kind of our insight and knowledge at the time. And like so many of us, we eat blindly without understanding the underlying layers of what it is. So for us, one of the pivotal things that we've always done is field trips. That way to like explore and go deeper. The one that sticks out most poignantly to me is early in about 2008, I went with a couple of our chefs and we went and looked at where our eggs come from. And they came from caged chickens. They came from a factory farm. We didn't know any better until I stepped foot in there, but I can still I visibly can see what felt like a prison. Stacked high, 15 feet high, cages packed, the shrieking, the sound in there, it was moving, to say it lightly. And I think it was one of those kind of pivotal moments when you start to look past line items in your P&L and you actually dig deeper and you're really understanding what goes into those components. And from that day on, we've never served another, it's always been a cage-free egg, and we have always tried to continue to push that. It's funny, I was actually looking at my bookshelf today, and I have a CAFO coffee table book that was sent to us by the Audubon Society. Really difficult book to put out on your coffee table. I don't recommend it, but it was one of those steps that we actually started to do where we were actually acknowledging and getting a little bit deeper. Field trips, again, super important to us to dive deeper. It was also an amazing way for us to engage our teams on what it is that we are doing. We've been to so many landfills, so many recycling centers, so many compost centers to really understand that. And to instruct an employee to throw something away versus to show them what actually happens, where that root is, that is foundational change. And those field trips, I know, are still an integral part of snooze, but they were so important. We went to Iowa, we went to our pigs farms, we went to Guatemala. We took 12 of our managers down to Guatemala early in 2010 so that they could actually experience where our coffee came from, and they could see the Godoys and meet them and break bread and understand the impact that we had in those communities. And you would not see a coffee bean dropped at a snooze after that trip, because they saw the importance of every single little cherry and how much work and effort went into that. So it really became this personal, wonderful journey. God, I'm so bad at flipping through these things. See, I said young. I was way back young. Along these early stages too is the whole foray into sustainability. Obviously, I touched on food. Back in, right when we first opened up, we had the choice of adding recycling to our mix. That was like a breakthrough idea for restaurants, honestly, back then. And we added it then, even though everyone was like, where are you going to put trash cans? And employees are going to throw a fit. And there's no way this is going to work. And lo and behold, it worked. And so we brought in a smarter person from college who actually studied the environment and said, what else can we do? What are the other tenets that we as an impact, or that our restaurants impact? And it turns out restaurants are really bad. They can be really bad. We are actually, for our size, the largest users of water, of waste, and of energy of any other business of its size. With that is a vast opportunity. So we actually created something called the 12 months of green. We actually broke out a new level of sustainability every single month. And the whole idea was across all of it, from my brother, the bus boy, to everyone in between. In December, we're going to focus on lighting. And what can we collectively do? And what are small wins or big wins that we can do? And then the next month we move on. And over that 12 months, we have made leaps over a year. And maybe what we didn't get to in December last year is a bigger project we can tackle this year. And it was those small leaps that I think really helped us form this foundation. Because again, we didn't know any better. And we were just trying to learn. And this was, again, part of our journey. There's a neat part about that is, we actually collaborated with a number of restaurants in the community. We found out that there were a lot of restaurants that actually wanted to, and we just didn't know how to do it. And so the power in numbers and coming together really formulated so much of that thesis. We actually helped form an organization called Eat Greener Denver, a coalition of about 40 restaurants, tried to figure it out. Actually, a pretty instrumental group to build the Certifiably Green project a little bit down the road. So So sustainability, again, was always pretty rooted in where we are. And now I've lost it. Community, again, has always been one of those core tenets. Again, I say we always gave 1% back to our community. In the sustainability mission, we actually, as we started to grow, we actually saw the eagerness of so many people within our organization to do it. So we created green captains, kind of those people, those special ones in the restaurants who really cared and dived deep. It's a great way to build up some new leadership and opportunities for them. Sometimes they were just the police trash, but you got to have that. The same thing happened within communities. We found a lot of people eager and wanting to know, like, how can we get involved? Like, if we are giving away this 1%, you know, we used to say, like, do you just give your money away to the first person that comes and knocks on your door? Like, you don't. You wouldn't do that. And why would we do that as a business? So think about what's important to you. And it was really always important, and still is, for us to say, what's important to you? What's important to your community? This is your money. This is your money to go out and be impactful for. And with that, Bree's got staggering numbers of where we've been, but it really has helped us build out a number of areas, a number of donations and food drives and constant volunteer things. And yes, I agree on that last discussion. Volunteering is super hard. But when you find things that really build into the passions of what we're doing, we've been able to find some tremendous success from it. So that essentially brings us to 2012. So in the interim, we are growing a business. We're trying to figure out things as we move along. In 2012, this is fine, we can go there. 2012, we had 6 restaurants. My brother and I are actually ready for a transition, or more so, our family's probably ready for us to transition out of our lifestyle. And you know, like, snooze is very personal to us. I mean, snooze is passion. You know, for a long time, like, snooze and Schlegel felt very synonymous. So it was very difficult to think about turning over the reins to who, especially because what we had was so built around this culture of giving. And so we spent a lot of time trying to figure out who this right partner could be, because, you know, the scariest thing is, like, the men in dark suits who come into your business and analyze one thing. They just analyze that bottom line. And we spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. We spent so much time interviewing our current CEO, David Berzon. I remember, like, he had to watch my dog for a while. We went and visited him, and he and my mom came up and, like, got to, like, this is our business. This is our baby. And we had to make sure it was right. And so we found all these folks, and we came together, and we thought we actually made the right thing happen. And we're sitting in our very first board meeting in a fancy table, and they're flipping through the deck, and they go to our org chart. And one of the things that pops out, sustainability director. And they're like, why do we have a sustainability director? Like, what does this have to do with serving breakfast? This is a dangerous topic. If you don't know what you're talking about, the people will come out. They will flag you. You get tossed up and down. Why would we even dip our toes into this? And so at this point in time, I am, like, losing my mind. I am, like, fuming and thinking we have just sold our business to the devil. And, you know, David, I think, jumped up before I could say anything that would have been very disastrous. And again, to his credit, because he's such a phenomenal guy, he took over and he said, you know, listen, I've been here for 3 months, and it is a foreign language to me, the sustainability in this community. But what I've noticed in the 3 months is that this is what drives our snoozers. That this is the most important thing, that this is what they bring up, that this is why they are here, that this is well thought out, and it has a plan. And so you shouldn't look at this as, like, an Achilles heel. Like, this is really a pillar of a business that we've been able to create and bond. And luckily he spoke and I didn't. And our board suddenly was very excited. They were, like, asking me what to do with the paper towel in the bathroom on the way out. And that was an amazing moment, and honestly allowed my brother and I to feel like we were in great hands and able to walk away. So that kind of brings us up to the present. I want to bring back Bree, who, again, you know, she's been with us since 2007. She's built this journey. so much. And honestly, one of the best reasons why John and I felt so good about walking away is her leadership. I've said it before, I'll say it often again, like Bree is the best thing that's ever happened to Snooze since my brother. And we are super fortunate to have her continue to lead the charge. And I am eminently proud of having just even been a part of an organization that's doing so much. So Bree, to the president.
He gives himself no credit, for the record. He is like amazing. And obviously we're all here, or at least I'm certainly here because of Adam and his brother John. And I would also argue that although we had no idea what we were doing, I think one of the panelists earlier said, if you just do the right thing and are kind, the right things happen. And I would say that from the second I walked into Snooze, I felt that and I heard that and I understood that so deeply. So Adam deserves all the credit, but I'll just talk about what the heck we did after that board meeting and what we were going to do in order to keep us moving. So it's 2012. We have 6 restaurants. We have 300 snoozers. We have a brand new private equity firm, and we had to grow, obviously, and had absolutely zero clue how we were going to do that without messing it up. And I took that very, very seriously. However, there was one thing that we did know based on the experience that Adam talked about and the newfound relationship we had with our private equity firm is that we would need to get really, really good at telling our story and creating the action to back up that story and ultimately allow that story to be our entire mission and really how we were going to be a business and a force for good in the world. So if we could tell this story, we understood what that story was, we knew that we could inspire. And if we could inspire people, people would follow, and with people, we could ultimately grow. And that's exactly what we did. We became really proud storytellers of everything that we were already doing every single day and also building the strategic vision in order for those stories to continue to be told. So like many companies in this room, Snooze is all about people. If you had any idea how many people it takes to make thousands of pineapple pancakes on a Sunday, you'd probably be just absolutely blown away. And people are certainly a rare commodity these days as well. So we had to really just build a foundation that people wanted to follow. And we've been really lucky that we've been able to build this incredible family of snoozers who believe what we believe and are also trying to change the world. So make no mistake, this picture is our growth story, and the people behind the things that we do every single day and the experience that you have in the restaurant is absolutely our growth story. And with them, we've been able to build and open and impact some of the most incredible communities across the country. For example, Tempe, Arizona, Austin, Texas, the Hillcrest neighborhood in San Diego, California, Houston, Texas, and many locations in Houston, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Nashville, Tennessee, and soon to be Summerlin, Nevada are just a couple of the communities that we've been able to join over the past couple of years. We believe that the communities that we are a part of deserve so much more than just breakfast, and without them, we know that we can't actually do breakfast itself. And in fact, communities have always been, the communities in which we operate have always been integral to your experience and ours. And, by the end of our talk today, you will see how many restaurants we actually have. But we hope that walking into this room, you had no idea how many restaurants we had. And that is a really critical and integral piece to how we grow. And it is no mistake that people aren't familiar with the number of restaurants that we have across the country. And this has been designed specifically to create the feeling of a small and intimate, a local and very intentional experience that you have with us. And we want to be your local breakfast place when you think about where you want to go on a Sunday morning or a Tuesday morning. We want you to feel comfortable having breakfast with us multiple times a day or multiple times a week. We want you to have coffee at our counter. We want you to read your newspaper if those exist, or whatever you do. We want you to be one of us. And that's been a really intentional part of what we do. And that's, as Adam mentioned, been a critical piece of our community building process. From day one, we have given 1% of our sales back to our direct communities, that to organizations within 3 to 5 miles of our front door through the community building pillars that Adam mentioned. And we want the hard-earned dollars of both our snoozers and our guests to go directly back into the communities that they serve. And our community giving program has been such a huge part of how we've been able to inspire our snoozers, inspire our guests, and continue to grow in the way that we want to. And we want the organizations that we support to be the ones that our people are passionate about, because as I said before, we know that they're our growth story, and if they're passionate about it, we will be able to do what we are truly capable of doing. We feel that this structure allows our people, our snoozers, to feel very connected to the mission and the purpose that we have. And we have community giving programs in every single individual restaurant that is ran by what we call our change maker, and they are responsible for ensuring that the actions that we say we do and the conversations that we're communicating out externally are just as true, if not stronger, internally for us as well. And we recognize that that effort is a little bit harder than doing, an entire 1% giving to a national campaign or to a larger global fund. And it is harder, but ultimately it creates an incredible connection at every single restaurant that we operate, and has been something that we've stuck to, and it's been foundational to who we are. This was a really proud moment. In 2019, we gave $1 million back to our local community. And I know that for some of you who are larger organizations, this may seem like small pennies, but for us, this was a really, really big deal, and a goal that we had been working towards for many, many years. And reaching milestones like this, for maybe some of you who are smaller in the room trying to figure out what to do, we had no idea we would ever get to this number. And to be able to get here and to share that with our communities was really important. And ultimately, the more we grow, the more we are able to give. In addition to telling our community story, we needed to get a heck of a lot better about telling our food story. Adam shared a couple of anecdotes around some of the critical things that are a part of breakfast. Eggs and bacon typically do not come from good places. If you did not know that, they are, definitely look at the back of your bacon package or the eggs that you make at home, and they are foundational to the breakfast that we serve. And so we had to get really, really good at our powerful and commitment to what it meant to have a sustainable food system. And that's really, not been easy. So over the last 10 years, we've been able to fully develop our SNOOZ-approved food program, which is really a decision-making roadmap that we use to determine what gets on your plate on Sunday morning. And on the screen, you'll see a brief kind of example of the basics of this framework. But behind this is our 86 ingredients list that we use to ensure that there are no bad ingredients in the food that you eat, whether it's hormones or artificial ingredients or anything of that nature. So come to find out, if you build a really strong decision-making framework and you actually stick to it, you end up in a really good spot. So every single decision that we make is a thoughtful one, and whether it's through our pancakes or our eggs and bacon, as I mentioned, we do that with really integrity, and we make sure that we are actually telling the story that we need to. And with our growth, we've been able to really establish a stronger foundation of food and a stronger foundation in our sustainability programs. Not to mention, when COVID hit, we did a lot of delivery. So our first step was to figure out how to offset all of the carbon that we were putting out, to make sure that you had food at your homes while you were stuck there. And so becoming a carbon neutral company is something that we're committed to, and this was a big part of that as well. We, of course, have to talk about COVID, and I don't want to spend much time talking about that, but something that was really important during COVID was the importance of that story. As I mentioned, our story had to become our mission, and it is without question that during COVID, our story and the story that we had created with our snoozers was the only thing that got us through that. We laid off 2,400 employees in 24 hours. We closed 15 restaurants in 3 days. We reopened 15 restaurants in 7 days. We fed our employees every single day of the week, and them and their families, and thousands of other things that tested our mission and our story and the values that we had. And it was without question that that was really what allowed us to be successful through COVID and to be standing up here today with the growth story that we have. In the world that we live in today, your CSR mission and how you measure your ESG and your organizations is compounded by how we show up in our local communities. And these are just a number of examples of ways that over the past 2 years, we have shown up and had to really deliver on our promise and our commitment, and ultimately to truly just be a good person. As I said in the beginning, being a good person is really what we're just trying to do, and taking the single moments to make a difference in who we are. So here's a number of ways in which we've showed up for our communities and ultimately had the social voice that we need to have in the world. We have all talked a lot today about what it means to have a voice in a world that we're in today. And the question around what do we believe has been a really important question for us. And there are often times in our organizations when that's challenged, when we are also not always in agreement on what that means or in alignment, but we continue to ask the really hard questions. And the one thing that I have discovered throughout our CSR journey is that having a voice is the most important thing that we could do. Our guests ask us to have a voice, our employees ask us to have a voice, and ultimately we want to have a voice. And so we do that, whether it's comfortable or not, whether it feels right or wrong. There's times when we've acted too quickly or acted too slowly, but at the end of the day, we are just trying to have a voice, and a voice of the people that we serve. So here we are now. We have 54 restaurants as of last Wednesday, which is crazy and amazing. And we operate in 10 states across the country. And we have been able to do some really, really incredible things in our time and over the past 10 years since 2012. And we're not stopping. In 2025, our goal is to be at 100. And in 2030, our goal is to be at 175 or more. But that's our current goal. And with that growth, really our impact lies within what we can do on a daily basis in every single one of our local restaurants. In 2030, we will have 10,000 snoozers, from 300, in 2006 to 10,000. Huge, huge goal. And in 2030, we will give $30 million back in-kind donations to our community. And we will also divert 120 million pounds from landfills in every single one of our communities. And that is super, super powerful. And we're very excited about that. And we're going to do it. And we know that we're going to get there because we live by this, right? Like the answer is yes. And how do we get there? And that really ultimately is the growth story. So with all of that that you have given us a chance to share, I really just want to say that defining your story and telling that story very, very loudly is the most incredible thing that you can give to the world. And I know all of you are doing that today in whatever form or fashion or whatever reason you got into this room today. And we just want to say thank you for allowing us to do what we do, but more importantly, thank you for advocating in the way that you do every single day and delivering on the missions that all of your organizations stand for. Because every single one of them is important to what we as a local community will do, but what we will do globally as well. So just continue to grow so you can give like us. So thank you so much.
Now, can you hear me? Oh, perfect. Okay. Wow, that is such an inspiring story. And I think it's just a testament to, at the core of your mission from the beginning, right? You had that intention of being a force for good in the communities where you operate. And that is such a beautiful thing. And it's incredible to just see, even with the maturity of the strategy, how that was centered in everything that you did together. So I know we could speak to you for days on this, and I know we only have a little bit of time left, and I'm sure people are thirsty as well. But I also, right? Yeah, I wish it was a bear. But one thing I will say Bree, I've always thought you were timeless as you continue to just grow in your leadership. And now after seeing this PowerPoint, clearly, Adam, you're timeless as well. All right, so with that, this question is for Adam. Tell us what you're doing today and how you've continued to foster mission in your work after your days at Snooze.
Sure. Thanks. So today, somehow I got back into the restaurant industry. I vowed to never do that when we left. But I met an amazing partner along the way, Alex Seidel. Hopefully many of you have been to Fruition or Mercantile. He won the James Beard Award. I somehow suckered him into opening up a quick casual chicken shop with me called Chook. And we currently have 4 Chooks running around. I would say, you know, in the concept of journey, Chook is a lot of the continuation of what we learned from Snooze, that we were able to start right away with the right sourcing, to start right away with the right benefits. We actually certified ourselves as a B Corp right out of the gates to try to do it. I would say for us and a lot of our mission, it still revolves a lot around the food system. And for Alex and I, it's something that we have a deep passion for. We know that food right now is honestly one of our biggest environmental and public health tragedies. And for us, it was like, how can we source food right? And for a person who spends every waking hour, but certainly every weekend traveling around with my kids playing soccer, I want to go to a place where I can get a healthy, delicious, affordable meal quickly. We spent a lot of time in Australia, and they actually had these rotisserie chicken shops. And when we moved back from Australia, that notion, that bug was given to me by my wife. So she is to blame for this industry as well. But it really was that idea of like, how can we build something that could have a foundational change and continue to do work in the food system? And so lo and behold, we've got 4 chicken shops and are trying to figure it out.
That's very exciting. And one thing I'll just say too, I mean, talking about just sustainable agriculture, I think even on the BF side, we think about that a lot too. And it is complicated to even just educate people about the power of just regenerative agriculture, and look forward to having that conversation in regards to, for us, sourcing of cotton, rubber, leather, right? And how we're partnering even just with the food industry. We are better together, right? With the work that we do.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, it is that mantra of like, how do you not take as a business? How do we do everything that is like a positive force, that, you know, like the food that we get is going to be better for our planet and our soil. And, you know, every little step along the way, like there are things that you can do that make, you know, tomorrow a better land. And that really is kind of our mission at Chook.
That's a beautiful thing. It's like kind of shifting the paradigm from extractive to being regenerative in everything that you do. Okay, so this question is for both of you. So what role does city government play in allowing businesses to create change? It's a big one.
I'll go first before soapbox starts. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You know, it's interesting. So I just want to talk about, because we operate in a lot of different communities. And in fact, we operate in a lot of communities that do not have any infrastructure around community composting, recycling even. In fact, the city government didn't even know what we were talking about when we said we need a composting facility in order to come to this community. And, you know, I think education around what the future of sustainability and of business really needs to look like is the number one priority of any local government, is to understand what the businesses of the future actually need, and to hear those businesses talk about the infrastructure that they need in order to actually reach the goals that we want to reach in the communities that we want to reach them in. And so part of it is dialogue and discussion. It's asking, it's listening, and it's being a critical partner for business in every community that we operate in. And that means a lot of different things, but it's about listening and asking the critical questions of businesses of the future.
Thanks, Bree. Do you have anything you want to add, Adam?
Oh, I could go on this, but I will try my best not to. There's obviously a lot of impact that our local, city, state, national governments have on our businesses, for right or wrong. But I would say, and especially here in Denver, the power and the importance of like our business and nonprofit community and helping shape that. I really think that we have such a strong entrepreneurial spirit, and I really do think the reason Denver is one of the best cities and growing to be one of the top 10 cities in the US is really because of the entrepreneurship, the business led, the collaborative mindset. And so the government has a role. They're going to take a role no matter what. I think it's just more important than ever that we engage in that conversation, and that we help shape all of those elements, because the quicker, as Bree was saying, that dialogue happens, the more that we can understand the balance. And we have balance, and the majority of us, the overwhelming majority of us, want balance and thoughtfulness in a lot of these things. And the only way we get there is to have a conversation with someone who you might think is against you or might think is the wrong mindset, because at the end of the day, there is meeting grounds behind so much of this. So my biggest ask is for you to continue to get involved and for you to continue to do this, because nobody likes to be that person that just jumps up and down and says, this is disastrous for me, when you could have been engaged in that conversation 2, 3, 5 years while it was getting underway. Get out there now, get engaged, build the city, because that's actually what we can do, is build our city the way we want it to, in a very positive way.
That is such a powerful message and call to action. And no question, I mean, just speaking to just the collaborative piece, it's like these issues, they seem so intractable and so difficult. And it really does take that mindset of thinking more collaboratively in regards to how we can get to yes on things. So with that, how are we on time, Jeff? Okay, one more question. Okay. All right, there's so many good questions here. So I know you covered a little bit of this, Bree, but was just curious if you could talk a little bit more about how you educate your snoozers and guests about your ESG and CSR work.
Yeah, I think, this is a really critical part of the message. And I didn't get to talk about education and what we're doing from an education perspective, but it is a critical piece to actually delivering the story. We can create every foundational program or every foundational framework, or how, live our values all day long. But if the people who are operating in our businesses every day don't understand why they're doing it or how they're going to do it or how it ultimately impacts them, is a really big piece. And that goes for our guests as well. Our guests have to also understand where we come from and why we do what we do. I mentioned, just a second ago, just around, how every community we've gone into, we've had to educate on what commercial composting looks like in the restaurant space. San Diego, we were the first restaurant in the city to compost. Webster, Texas, they don't even have a compost facility within 30 miles, right? So there's a number of places that we've gone that we've had to really be the driver of education and the champion and the person holding the flag for all of the things that we're doing. And it's really about talking. And I think Adam said it even in the last question. How do you have dialogue with people who may not know why you're doing the things that you're doing? How do you make sure that you're telling the stories behind your food, behind your decision making, almost all the time, first and foremost to your people, right? To your snoozers, to make sure they understand why they're there and what their mission is and what they're responsible for doing when they're in your four walls. And then ultimately giving them the tools to tell the stories beyond just them. And every single time they interact with a guest, every single time they interact with each other, that they're really clear on that mission and that why. So it goes both ways. It starts internally with our people and having the right foundation to grow them, and then ultimately how they tell stories and how proud they are to work for us. The more pride they have, the more stories they tell, and that all starts with educating them on why we do what we do.
I mean, clearly your commitment and passion for people first, I mean, that shines through, and it's true, right? Our employees are our greatest ambassadors in regards to telling that story and living and breathing it as well, and taking the story into action. So really incredible work, very inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and experience and expertise as you continue your journey of intentional impact. All right. So now it's my honor to welcome to the stage Meredith Hines, Executive Director of the Copic Medical Foundation and Manager of Corporate Social Responsibility at Copic.
All right, so I know I'm between you and that beer or two that was mentioned, but my boss is right here in the front and she told me to go slow. So I'll try to go fast and go slow at the same time. Thank you to Snooze and thank you to Gloria for that inspiring conversation. It's been a great end to a wonderful day. Like Gloria mentioned, I'm Meredith Hintz. I'm the Executive Director of the Copic Medical Foundation and Manager of Corporate Social Responsibility at the Copic Companies and a proud member of the Denver Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation Board. Also, the Vice Chair of this year's B-Civic Summit, which means I'll be the chair next year. A little bit about that in a minute. But I want to thank you all for joining us today as we connected, inspired one another, and learned together. After today, I feel prepared to lead with purpose and ready for any crossroads that come our way, and I hope you do too. Taking from Chris Jarvis's presentation earlier, join me in a challenge to accelerate the impact of this conference and share one takeaway, resource, or idea that you heard with a peer or colleague. If you've done that, that's nice. I have another one. Implement that idea and share your work with B-Civic so that we can take those lessons and learnings and share them more broadly. Of course, this inspirational day would not be possible without the generous support of our sponsors. So of course, thank you to our presenting sponsors, VF Corporation and Delta Dental of Colorado. Our visionary sponsors as well, Bank of America, DaVita, RK, Southwest Airlines, Suncor, and Xcel Energy. Our welcome reception beverage sponsor, Molson Coors. Our giving partner, Global Giving. A reminder, you should all have an email with a link on how to make that donation through their portal. And together, we have the power to give over $6,500 to the charitable projects of our choice across the globe. So be sure to check that out. And finally, to our community sponsors, which are listed here. It says clap. In addition to our sponsors, this event really would not be possible without the team behind the scenes. So I'd love for Liz to stand up. Our chair of this event, Liz Gardner, Area Manager, Community and Local Government Affairs at Xcel Energy. And then we have many members of our team, our committee here listed on the screen who are joining us in person, but also virtually. So a big thank you to Andy Bailey of AT&T, Karen Bigelow of Premier Members Credit Union, Jackie Devine of Alpine Bank, Ali Anglican of the Denver Broncos, Micah Gerard Levine of Liberty Global, I'm on here, Brian Kurtz of Revere Software, Paula McLean of Black Pearl Marketing, Lori Meisenheimer of Alteryx, Marley Reifert of Barefoot PR, Casey Stock of Natera, and Shanda Vangus of Fourth Wave Strategies. But we all know we really wouldn't be here without the incredible two-person rock star team of B-Civic, Jess Welser and Olivia Barrows. And thank you to our Denver Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation staff for helping us make sure today went smoothly. And now I'm sure you are wondering about the 2023 B-Civic Summit. I'm excited to announce that our vice chair, who's joining us virtually today, Casey Stock, head of ESG for Natera, and I will host the 2023 B-Civic Summit on Thursday, November 2nd, 2023. Save the date now. If you're wondering how you can get in on the action for the 2023 B-Civic Summit, if you'd like to be a sponsor or join the committee, please reach out to the B-Civic team. The speaker RFP will launch. I'm sure you all have ideas about what we can do next year, what sessions we can have. So please reach out with those, of course, to Jess. And we will be sending out a survey right following this event. I won't give a timeline soon. And so please fill that out. That information helps us make every year better and better. Also, you can win a fabulous prize by taking that survey. So thank you once again for spending the day with us. Enjoy your evening and that beer or two. Thanks.